I have a very, very special guest today. Where is she? What do you mean you don't know? Well, I'll call her.
Hello.
Hey, are we supposed to be recording a podcast right now?
I think so.
Okay, well, I'm sitting here recording and there's a mic sitting next to me.
I'm coming. As you wish, ma'am.
Okay, I'll see you soon. She's coming.
Am I on speaker?
You are.
Oh, hey guys. I'm coming right now. Be there in a sec.
Our very special guest is on her way. I will see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. She's here. So, Sophia and I are roommates.
And they were roommates.
And they were roommates.
I'm so scared.
She's a little nervous to be on camera.
No, because our relationship when we're alone versus in front of people, I wouldn't say it's night and day. It's just...
It kind of is.
It is, but it's not. Like, right now, we're putting on our normal voices.
Yeah. Well, you know what? To be totally fair, I think when you're with your closest friends in your element, you're calm, the walls are down, there's not cameras staring at you and people standing behind the cameras listening to you.
And judging you. Jackson. Just
you talk in baby voices to each other. You have your words, your names for each other. You have your just go-tos, whether that is burping like truck drivers or, whatever your things are.
I didn't think we'd mention that, but yes.
So
I can confirm
Sophia
that experience.
and I have gone from, we've had many different kinds of, just ups and downs in our friendship. We've never had any low lows by any means, but I mean, we've just kind of... We've had, that I know of, that we have, we've really just kind of come a long way as friends. We've grown a lot. Aside from the fact that Sophia is my roommate, we also have a couple other really exciting things to share. Sophia is my manager, and she also is working on this podcast team, the Unrelatable team, doing all of our marketing and partnerships and trying to basically make it possible for us to have other companies and brands and people kind of being a part of the Unrelatable team and helping us push the vision. So not only is she one of my best friends, she also was my first friend at USC, the first person that I ever met going into USC.
That's so crazy.
And we've now been friends for
close do I
coming up on...
Hold this. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'll shut up now.
It's okay. It's totally okay. See,
Okay.
so that's one of the things when you're doing a podcast, basically it's like...
Up here? Okay.
No, I mean, like when you want to say something, you kind of just like wait for the other person to stop talking and then you start talking.
Shut up, because I know you don't do that. I literally know you don't do that.
I also don't do that. Take your own advice. That's a big theme on this podcast.
Well, when you're a young 20-something-year-old living in LA, I think we know so much, but then don't apply it for some godforsaken reason.
Yeah.
But we try our best,
But yeah, so we met going into March of 2018. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
March of 2018, it was when we heard back from USC.
Wow.
We've grown a lot. We've been through many different experiences together and separately, and we have been able to create a very strong foundation for our friendship, which I think is, pretty incredible and also pretty rare at this age. We have such a great, for the most part, sense of communication, and I think we both have really learned a lot from each other. And
we should definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
We are very different.
We are. I mean, you can look at us and just tell that it's like, we're really less thing one and thing two, and we're kind of apples to oranges in the best way,
Is that how that goes?
Well, I mean, you're comparing apples to oranges is comparing Sophia to Caroline versus thing one and thing two, which are like
we're definitely thing one and thing two.
But
we are SpongeBob and Patrick.
Yeah, there we are, SpongeBob and Patrick, because we're not like identical twins by any means, but we definitely have, I think, the core
our
of
wavelength.
Who we are very similar.
Definitely.
But we as people
express it so differently.
Exactly. We had a couple classes together when we first started college. Sophia was like, doing her work and reading the book. And all I wanted to do was get through the class and be done with it. But
remember our first professor, when I raised my hand, he asked me what the American dream was. And like being a first generation immigrant kid, like it's the definition of like opportunity, all these things. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Are you sure?" And I was like, I think I'm pretty sure that's what most people see as America. I'm not saying that's true, but at the same time, like that was my first day in college. And then I always was like, I didn't have to study for anything, and I was able to just write an essay and get straight A's in high school.
Yeah.
And then he gave me a C on my first paper because I wrote it in like a day, and it was the most traumatic thing for me being a perfectionist. So that class was really hard for me. So even though it looks like I had it together, I really didn't. My self-esteem was really
because I was kind of doing the
sat
same
behind
thing.
me and you'd go like this. Hey, what's going on?
Long story short, we kind of had our different paths in college, and COVID hit, and my family went up to Montana, and I had invited a couple friends out, you know, just to come and be able to like be with a friend, but also like be able to go out and do things and enjoy myself and not be locked in a house. And this was summer of 2020. So this was our sophomore year of college, going into junior year. And I just very randomly invited Sophia. And at that point, we'd been friends for almost 3 years.
Can we stop and ask, like, why? You hardly knew me.
I don't know. I think I just was like, we had always had that like friendship that like we would see each other like 2 times a year and catch up, but it was always like a solid friendship. And I think for me, it was like, I really wanted to spend that summer connecting with friends and like just kind of experience the outdoors.
But, like the whole traveling, like I haven't started traveling with my best friends until this year. And I've known them for so long. And for you to be like, hey, do you want to go to Montana with me?
That's kind of like such a me thing. And I was just so like sporadic about that stuff.
I remember you asking me and I didn't really know what to say. I was like obviously down, but I also like I knew who you were as a person, but I didn't know you.
No, I didn't know you either.
We had like lunch. I like worked for your mom for a little bit. Like I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer. You were my first introduction to entertainment, which is like I think you're the root of like where everything started, which is so crazy to say.
Even right before filming this, like my parents actually stopped by and was very like exciting to just have them see kind of what we're doing and you know it does at the end of the day feel I'm like okay I have the right people around me right now.
Right.
And I think it's a different feeling than it was years ago and the beginning of college where you know it felt right but it wasn't this like secure feeling of like
totally. I've seen that change too. Like I've been there kind of since the beginning and I've kind of seen who's fallen away and who's like stayed close to you. And I'll be honest, like I did not like all your friends and like me coming from my suburban like, you know, non-LA life.
Sophia's
like,
from Corona.
But yeah, I mean,
it was probably also kind of a big, I can imagine, shock for me as well. Like the other friends that I had come out were like my day-to-day friends, you know, and
LA friends, which LA people are very different.
It was a big
I
mean, at the end of the day, like,
not in a bad way, but it can be in a bad way sometimes. It can be depending. But my point is like I came from a place where everyone had a very like unified-ish family. We all went to very similar schools. Like it's a very, you know, no homelessness, no traffic. It's like everyone knows I will go to the grocery store and see my second grade teacher. Like that's just how it is. But here there's so many people. It's so overwhelming, which I'd love to talk about to like our relationship. I feel my experience with LA moving here legitimately, not going to school. Yeah. Not necessarily affected our relationship, but I think there's just like a different place of understanding in that.
Well, I mean, I think that completely connects to what I was going to say, which is when you came out to Montana, it was this kind of culture shock for both of us of you being this kind of more like head down student, much more kind of reserved as a person.
Yeah, like I'm afraid to speak and say the wrong thing.
Right, and I'm out there and I'm like, fuck it, whatever's in my mind, I'm going to say it, and it can be right or wrong, I'm not thinking about it. Yeah. I'm not thinking about the repercussions, I'm not thinking about anything, I'm just doing Caroline. Yeah. And I think over time I've learned to mature and like, you know.
We've learned from each other and that communication sense.
When you came out, I was kind of able to see that side of you that reminded me of myself, and I think you were able to see that side of me that was the kind of head down person.
I do remember
and
that.
Long story short, pick Sophia up from the airport. We're like, hey, how are you? This is gonna and it
still right very formal. Like we know each other, but like there's that like but still that barrier where like I didn't know who you were.
I knew that it would be we would have fun, but I just didn't know.
But you don't know when you travel with people. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think I just didn't know how much. Like, I was scared to, like, literally curse in front of you. And I just, it's, like, coming out like a fucking hose. Like,
I'm still trying to help you with that, but it's okay.
I have a hard time without cursing every 5 words. But I think I was even scared to curse in front of poor, sweet little Sophia. And she gets in the car, and I think you just said something that was, like, so off-rip fucking hilarious. And I was like, okay, you're so cool. Like, I fuck with this.
It was the music. It was the music we're bumping.
I was just like, okay, you can hang. This is great. I love this girl. And then I played you my music. You were like, who's singing? I was like, that's me. me. And it was that same moment that I kind of had with everyone in my life when I started making music, where they were like, that's you singing. And I'm like, yeah.
I didn't believe you. I thought she was kidding.
And then we went on a hike during the trip. We ended up having such a fun time.
What I was wearing. I know exactly the trail. I don't know where it is.
I remember exactly where we were too. But
it was like a core memory. I do remember
turned
that.
to Sophia and I'm like, this is so random, but I'm actually like looking.
Out of the blue, by the way. She just says this out of the blue.
Again, just like inviting her to Montana, I out of the blue said, hey, Sophia, I know you want to go into entertainment law. I'm actually dealing with looking for a manager right now. And I was told by kind of this mentor figure of mine, he's an artist himself. And he was like, go with someone that you trust. And I was like, I think that though that week or two that we spent in Montana, I really built a lot of trust with you immediately. And I think that like we kind of like both realized that like we do have a lot more in common than we expected.
Yeah.
Those 2 years we were hanging out very, very sporadically and very briefly and doing our little catch-ups. But I was like, oh, like, you know, you were my first friend at USC. Like, that's kind of how I knew you. And you kind of having this interest in the entertainment business and also interning for my mom's company and whatever. Like, I knew your family very briefly. But this moment, I think, was our real kind of like, we know, you know, this is the moment. And I turned to Sophia, I'm like, do you want to be my manager?
I didn't even know what that meant. Like, genuinely did not even know what that meant.
Right. And at that point, I had kind of gotten into management a little bit for other artists, but I was like, that's not my thing. Like, I want to be an artist myself and kind of express myself. And so long story short, here we are. Sophia's like, you know, really killing it in the business and has her own roster of artists on the management side and is really interested in, you know, you can talk about yourself, but I will talk about you. Very, very hard worker, very motivating. You know, I think that you and I are kind of both in this point right now in our lives where we're really just focused on like inner peace and like kind of protecting really our energy in order to be able to have such healthy, thriving lives.
Definitely. I mean, where do we even begin? I guess I could start talking about moving in, which was a whirlwind because the whole Netflix thing happened with Sawyer, and that was really overwhelming. And I think...
And that was like right when you moved in.
Literally the weekend I moved in.
In case people don't know what we're talking about when we talk about the Netflix cat, there's an episode called Cats where I talk about my two pets that I got right after finishing treatments. And I haven't ever been the most responsible when it comes to animals. Watch the episode. You'll learn more about that. But I have two cats. Their names are Finn and Sawyer. Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. They're strange. They're cute. They're really everything in between. Very interesting personalities. And I got them 2-3 months before you moved in.
They're so cute.
And Sophia has now become the
godmother.
Essentially the godmother of the pets. And yeah, basically when Sophia moved in, Sawyer, the cat, has this very weird reaction to the Netflix intro. We made a video. It went viral. Sawyer is like internet famous and is the Netflix cat. So in case you're wondering what that is and you want to learn more about it, it's not it's a quick, short, and sweet episode story. And you can learn more about the cats. Not me literally in the back of my mind being like, they better be fucking in my room right now, resting comfortably.
Caroline, the door is closed. The windows are closed. Unless a cat grows hands or some superhuman paws to open up,
I know, but
they're
it was
fine.
just the other day when...
By the way, this is how our relationship pretty much looks like.
Yeah.
She'll get super anxious. I have my anxiety moments too, but I literally have to be like, Caroline, let's think about the logistics of this. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's 1, 2, 3 this right now.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm right.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it. I think I was prepping to move in or something. And then all of a sudden, like, we noticed that the cat was doing that. And I was like, hey, we should probably post about it for fun. But being in entertainment, stupid little memes can totally change your life, whether that's for the short term or the long term. And that happened the weekend I had moved in. It was a lot. I mean, like, it's just for something to be that big all of a sudden. And then I realized, like, people who blow up overnight, even at like a bigger level than what we experienced for the brief moment, like, I can't even imagine the type of toll that takes, despite it being and defining it as success. So that happening, us needing to figure that out, even though it was a great opportunity, being young, not being experienced enough, talking to different people, it comes off as really intimidating because you want to be guided by the right people and yada, yada, yada. So that had happened.
I was also like trying to figure out what my move was to go back to work and applying to jobs. And also like we were very talking about maybe like starting a company, but like I don't think either of us
oh my God, do you remember
ready for that? Because there's still so much to learn. And I do think at the end of the day, like both of us are so like ambitious and have so much that we want to accomplish, but at the end of the day too, it was very humbling at that point because we were both like, listen, like we have these great ideas, but like there's still so much we need to learn.
Yeah, and I'm glad we took our time with it because I think what the Netflix cat has taught us is we did need time to get to know each other, because it's very different when you move in with somebody. Like, you had your own ways, I had my ways. Like, I had, I lived with more people throughout my college experience. I know you did too, and you had horror stories, literally. I didn't have horror stories. I had friction in some capacities, but that's to be expected with every single living situation. But for me, what was really difficult was not only coming to the idea of like, okay, I've graduated. Being a very structured perfectionist person, I still struggle to this day with that mentality a lot, and I actually breed a lot of anxiety for myself. And like, this past year, like living with you for so long, like I've learned how to like speak up in my own ways and like be myself a little bit more. But like moving to LA, even though I went to SC, being in a bubble on a campus is so different than actually living in the city. And like, mind you, like,
we're in like the thick of it, really.
Yeah, and it's not even that. It's like, you measure school by seasons. Okay, summer, fall. Like, for me, being somebody who's super structured and perfectionist, I'm like, I know when this is gonna end. I know when this is gonna start.
I mean, and honestly,
even with COVID,
this business is an entertainment in general, whether that's music or film or whatever. It's so year round that, I mean, when I tell you, I got an out of office email last night at 8 p.m. saying I'm out of office for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm like, yo, no, you did not send me an out of office email because you're not working in the weekend.
Yeah, like, no. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, but like, don't ever count me in that. I mean, of course I'm always on, and like, but that kind of fucked me up a little bit. And this was literally yesterday, because it's Saturday today.
I was there,
like, bro,
because
like,
I live with you.
You live with me. As Sophia mentioned, like, there has been really a lot of encouraging each other to be the best versions of ourselves, and also like give each other grace sometimes. And that comes down to cleaning dishes and a normal roommate thing, but also like, Sophia, if you're upset about something, speak up.
Which I didn't for a really long time. You used
to keep things in, and I can tell. And when you would get emotional, it would be like, almost like a dam breaking, because you would bottle yourself up. And I think, coming from the life you came from, and being a pianist and being a gymnast and being in all of these very like hardcore structures and environments, and also being first generation American with a Romanian family, like very, very different. And I think we've also kind of learned each other's cultures and learned ways to really kind of adapt and understand like what healthy lifestyle looks like, but also like allowing ourselves to fuck up and realize it. And
which is hard for me.
Yeah, I mean, me
very
too.
Difficult.
And I do think that like I mentioned, like, we have such a good foundation for our friendship and our working relationship and our roommate relationship. And I think Sophia and I are a good example of being able to kind of prove that wrong a little bit, in that, we really have been able to learn how to balance all of those things and have healthy boundaries.
Yeah, totally. And I think too, I'm a very independent person, and I think even though I find dependency on my friends in terms of, I love to call them, I love to hang out with people, I'm very social, but then I always have to draw back and like be with myself for a bit. And I think for quite some time where I wasn't speaking up a lot of the time in our roommate relationship, where you were the type of person that you were like, something bothers me, I'm gonna say it right now.
Make sure everyone fucking knows.
Yeah, no, literally. And for me, like, I kind of grew up, like, I absolutely adore my parents, and I'm so grateful for them and what they've taught me. But I do think a lot of what my upbringing was no crying. You put your head down, you work, you perform. Like, there isn't time to feel emotions. And being, on top of being a woman too, and the things that we go through physically, and, the separate experiences we have from men as well, it was very hard for me to like learn that it was okay to feel those things. And a lot of the time I had to honestly, and still do to this day, need to walk myself through it. Like, I just remember being like, literally, not works like a dog. I don't want to say it's like some sort of abuse or anything, because it definitely was not. Like, I'm who I am because of my upbringing. I'm so proud of it, and I'm glad I will take that self-discipline with me. But a lot of what that pressure comes with is the perfectionism, like the expectations I had on me as a kid.
I mean, it's just the same thing as in certain ways as an adult, like having these, not episodes, but like, getting snappy and getting mad and getting upset, and realizing that that's the same kind of kind of parallel to being a little kid and trying to get attention.
Totally.
Even though you're an adult, and it's just like, okay, like trying to recognize like your kind of adult behaviors being directly correlated with your child self. And like also like the hardest part, one of the biggest breakthroughs I've ever had in therapy was literally recognizing the fact that my younger self, and this sounds insane, but like my younger self in those moments when I acted out a certain way in a certain scenario, that was just my younger self needing a hug from my older self. And I think when we can even talk about those things, and like,
we've had some deep conversations like that. Like we've had moments where, you know,
not to say that like 95% of the time we're literally like
babies,
just being insane.
No, we're literally like 5-year-olds, which if anyone knows me, like it's the type, like my best relationships is where I can be a child. And I think honestly that's been my gift in my life, is everything I want to do, whether it's in my friendships, whether it's in my work or with my family, if I can't be that child Sophia, then I have a wall up. And I do come off more reserved, as you know, to people until you start to actually break down those barriers and trust. Like,
but the thing is too, as adults and as, you know, as we both kind of get to that point of learning, you know, to protect ourselves and our peace at the end of the day and love in general, I think you recognize that you don't just give that to anyone. Yeah. And like you said, you've seen me kind of really give that to a lot of people that
you do.
I wasn't, I shouldn't have. And I think like this year specifically, I've really kind of learned, and I can see that you have too, just like really trying to appreciate you for who you are and not needing a second person or friends or people to like be there to really like
totally
kind of lean on.
Totally.
Whereas, you know, usually, you know, there's times where you're home and you just want to like pick up the phone and call someone, but like sitting in that silence and really being your own best friend at the end of the day it's really challenging. You know?
I think,
and I do think that I have kind of a sense of resentment towards a lot of people that really can successfully be their own best friend, because I'm really trying to learn to do that and just be able to like take yourself.
You think that, but like think about it deep down, like we all have some sort of self-improvement to go through. Everyone is, I was not the same person when I moved in versus now.
No.
Like the way that my mentality when I moved to LA felt a little bit unstable. I was like I had a lot of self-doubt, you know, nothing really changed other than the living situation, but it was, again, coming from a very like self-perfectionist, you know, viewpoint, the pressure I felt to be successful, the fact that it's like more, always a moving goalpost on top of learning who I am and realizing I'm probably never going to live with my parents again. You know, I have a lot of my friendships are changing. You know, I'm learning, you know, how to live with you. I'm in a city that's like super overwhelming. And then all of a sudden it just comes to this point where it's like, okay, really, I only do have myself at the end of the day. I don't ever want to neglect other parts of my life because that's really important. Right. But everyone is like, I'm not going to be the same person in a year. You know, I'm not going to be the same person when I'm 30 or a mom.
I've grown up significantly over the last few years. And I think that,
even within the year.
Yeah, I mean, but these like real life experiences, you know, getting sick and
so quickly,
also just
back
like
to back.
Having a job and dealing with friendships and different relationships in my life, and also just like working on myself, like those things kind of are lessons to help you grow up. But I do think that, like, you know, there was a me that was really confused and really leaned on my friends for guidance. And then I think specifically was just thinking back on it was, you know, a lot of me kind of going back to school during COVID and living and having a roommate that I didn't know very well and trying to connect with that roommate. But, you know, sometimes you're just roommates too. Sometimes you just live together and you don't really need to be friends. And for me, though, I'm such a lover and a sensitive person, and I just want to connect with everyone. And so that was a big struggle for me, was this frustration of like, I want this person to be in my life forever. I care about this person. I want to support this person. And guess what? We moved. I literally have talked to her once in the last 3-4 years. You know, and I don't even, I mean, I wish her all the best, but some people just aren't meant to be friends like that.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think it also, I think what I've learned, especially now, is I sometimes feel like culture tells you to just kind of give people the middle finger and just to move on. And something within me, and this comes from honestly a really spiritual place, especially with our relationship, is taking the effort to actually get to know somebody. Like, I think when we even had, like, I wouldn't say are like our lowest of lows, because they're not bad, but you know, there's seasons where I'm super busy, you're super busy, you know, I'm doing stuff, you're doing stuff. So it's like a marriage in a sense, where it's like if a partner is not mentally and emotionally there, and someone is grasping for that and you can't give it to them, there's like this sort of resentment.
Right, but I do think as people that, you know, really kind of focus on the why. I think you and I are big why people.
All the time.
That we're able to sit down and I can be like, hey, like, I think I'm just bummed out because we don't hang out as much as we used to.
Yeah.
Like, or you'll be like, hey, I think I'm bummed out because I don't feel like you care as much about XYZ that I like you to.
Totally.
And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That's totally valid. Thank you for telling me that this is why, or I don't know why, but let's figure it out.
Yeah. I've learned to stop, or I try my best to stop assuming what people know about my emotions.
Some people won't. You know? And I think that it can come out in different ways. Like, for example, someone that really just wants love and to be cared about and to be given a hug could be acting out and be a bitch.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, you could not understand that, you know, at face value, and you could be getting offended and having resentment and building that up and being like, fuck that girl.
I'm not going to clean the damn dishes.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, that person is just like, oh, I'm lonely. I want to hang out with someone.
And it's like, I think something about me needing to walk myself through a lot of my own complex emotions growing up, especially with this pressure that I put onto myself, is that complete self-awareness. I'm not perfect. I'm not like some sidekick that understands what you're feeling. But whenever somebody, especially like in our relationship, and I can tell when we feel a little bit like unhinged in our environment, especially because we put so much pressure on ourselves, Caroline. We're constantly working. We come home from work. We work on our side projects. I want to go to the gym. Like, I feel like this constant need of like, go. Like, tomorrow's Sunday, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Oh, wait, I have to clean the house, laundry. It's just like something's always happening, but it's just taking the time to just say, like, why is this person feeling like this? I think it's a very selfless thing, and I wish people would do that honestly more. And I find that a lot of the time, besides our relationship, I am the person that will be that for others, where it's like, why am I going 500 steps back as to why this person feels that way? But I just realized I didn't really have that. And I feel like at the end of the day, everyone does want to be heard. So even if it might be the like, I don't feel like cleaning today, it could be as simple as like, hey, Caroline, like, we sit ourselves down. We literally do this not more often than not in our seasons. We'll sit down and I'd be like, this is how I feel. And then you'll be like, this is why I'm reacting this way, or vice versa. And then we literally will go into not our trauma, but like we go into the way we grew up and the way that we feel that we just didn't.
Understanding each other's differences, but also like, you know, it only goes so far, because sometimes, yes, you can understand it, but sometimes it's not necessarily an excuse. You know,
definitely
like,
not. You have to put the work in, and I think that's what we're good about.
You know, I don't use, hey, I went through illness to be like, I'm going to be a fucking bitch to everyone. You know, like, I know that. And I think that kind of just goes in for anything. You know, like, you could have had a really, really difficult upbringing. You could have been completely neglected, you know, God forbid. I think no one really necessarily is a perfect upbringing.
Of course
so
not.
I do think that
everyone carries their own generational trauma, their own, I wouldn't say curses, because I think that seems like such a locked concept onto somebody, but we all have to put in the work, and it takes the effort. But not only within yourself, you have to be willing to help others go through it too. If you really want to be a selfless, caring person and find purpose in your life, I really do believe you have to show up for people.
Right.
That's why it's like,
but yourself as well.
Of course, not at the expense of yourself. And that's where you honestly, through our relationship, have taught me that, you should speak up. Like, you can be upset about this, because I'm the type of I justify a lot for people.
You do, but I think like that comes from your willingness to give grace to people that you love and care about.
Yeah,
even
and
a
I
stranger
always
on
will.
the street. But
I always will.
But you know that you need to put yourself first.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept.
I do think that like the quiet, peppy, perfectionist girl that I met when I was like 18 years old and you were 17 years old, going to be spring admits, talking about maybe being roommates and ending up not being roommates. But that girl was so, I think, really just afraid of speaking the truth. And I think now you're in a place where like you
I've let it
are
go.
light years ahead. Like
Yeah.
I see this like kind of hardened version of that.
Yeah.
You know, because before it was like always smiling, Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're
A
like, I'm
people
being
pleaser.
honest with my feelings,
Yeah.
you know? And I think
It
that
takes a lot. And
yeah.
I think people kind of take that as weakness sometimes. Like emotions are weak, even women, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like we have such pressure on us to just perform and to play different roles, whatever that might be. Everyone has their own, you know, approach to what that would look like, but we just feel like I felt this pressure all of the time, and not
Right.
only for a performance standpoint, but just afraid of somebody responding in a way that I didn't like.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to like have an outcome that I did not picture for myself that I could align my mindset with. So for example, if I were to come to you and be like, this is how I feel, and you to be, this is what I'm thinking in my head. Oh my God, she's going to hate me. She's going to this, blah, blah, blah. Like this anxious thought, like rolling like a snowball down a hill. And, you know, I'm sure there's going to be times in my life where the worst case scenario does happen, but I've already thought about it. So I'm already prepped. So it's all good.
Same.
Yeah. But at
Can
the same
relate to
time, it's
that.
like being able to just show up in that manner. And honestly, I don't have any expectations for life. You know, like it's kind of like you go and you walk in a room and you have an opportunity. Just know that you're there and let it go. I've learned to like really mentally let things go, and I don't feel this like
I think it is
pressure as
it's
much
interesting
anymore.
Because a lot of like the really powerful women around me have all said that, including my own mom.
Yeah.
Like she literally says like I wake up each day with no expectation.
Yeah,
But
and
I
that's
just
the
have
best.
a good mindset.
Yeah.
And I think the thing for me is I've been such a control freak my whole life, and I think the more I grew up, the more I learned that like I cannot control if the sun
Everything around
decides to
you.
explode tomorrow. I just have to wake up with a smile on my face or try my best. You know,
Where would we be if that even happened? Like what
gone within literal microseconds. We wouldn't even have time to think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's really just like, you know, the only thing you can control is yourself.
Right.
And I really do think it's interesting to take my, whatever you want to call me, Jewish, and also went to Catholic school, and also just spiritual in general, in whatever sense of the word that means for, I don't even know what that means for me, but I'm just a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
And I think you, who like, you go to church, you take it very seriously, you study
Yeah.
the Bible, you
Yeah.
wake up every morning and read the Bible, and like,
yeah.
I do see a lot of convergence in your spirituality and my curiousness in spirituality and my kind of just full association with the Judaism and, you know, the my genuine like just being Jewish and being very proud to be Jewish, but also the fact that like I can be curious about just the universe and the world around me and the purpose of things.
Totally.
And being able to talk to you about that. And there not being a wall up between us either.
And there shouldn't be. I think people of different beliefs shouldn't have a wall up when you have a discussion. And I think nowadays, especially with Abrahamic religions, there is
Could
this
not
like
tell you what the fuck that means.
it
What
means
does that mean?
like Jewish, Christian, Muslim. So it's like, you know, the very like, I wouldn't say the harder core ones, but can be seen as like the core of what people think of religion. And I think it's really sad that even our own people through history have created such a negative connotation by, you know, the wars that have happened and all the, you know, everything that's happened around giving people a negative viewpoint on it, of it. So my goal always is to just be honest, and like I'm not a perfect person, and that's what our religion really, you know, defines, you know, as people. I mean, and like being able to come and have a conversation and just learn from it, because it should just, that's how I live my life. Like I don't read because I'm like, okay, I did have a time where I, you know, everyone has their own spiritual journey, but being like, okay, I need to do this check, I need to do this check to be this perfect person. It's just like, no, it's a way of life. And like, that's how I personally ground myself each morning. I don't do it because I'm better than anyone else. It's just for me, what I need mentally, physically, and spiritually.
You're doing it for
to
you.
like,
You're doing
to
it
show
for
up.
your,
Because
you're
I can't,
up for you.
I think life is very spiritual, and me going to work is not just going to work for me. It's like, how can I show and be a blessing to people today? Even though I have my own, you know, everyone has their own quirks and like mistakes each day that they do, but it's the intention that you set when you leave the house, or like when I show up for you. Like I always show up in conversations not for what I want. It's what is the reasoning behind this? What is the spiritual purpose behind this? And then that always breaks through every single time. Like God always breaks through for me in that way. But it's just so interesting with our different like approach to spirituality that we're still able to find so much like foundation and common ground, and you ask so many questions, which I love.
I'm curious because it's such a big part of your life, and I think that like it would be a slight disservice for me to not understand
and I
why you're
that.
going to church and why you have these like friends and ask these questions, have these conversations. I'm gonna ask all the fucking questions. I'm gonna be like, can you explain this to me? Like, I don't know what you mean. Like, why are you doing this? Like, what's with the praying? Like, what are these notes? Like, why do you do all this? But I do kind of start, you know, it helps me kind of understand you as a person, but also like it also gives me a lot of respect for like your dedication and like kind of finding something that is meaningful to you.
Totally. Yeah. And I appreciate that because I've gone through, I guess, some different spiritual things in my life where I was very confused, and that manifested in my life in some ways. And I've had friends look at me and be like, yeah, that's why I don't believe in God. That's why I don't believe in Christianity.
Okay, they can fuck off. Yeah. Because honestly, you can believe whatever the fuck you
know,
want.
it's funny because eventually those friends ended up did find a religion and commit to it, which is hilarious. And honestly, not hilarious in like a negative way, but it's just like
it's ironic.
It's ironic. It's just it's interesting how it works, like life works that way. But no, I always appreciate your openness with it, and I think that's honestly why our friendship is so great, is because we can come with those questions. There isn't this like wall up that I'm gonna come judge you, and if you ever feel judged, like tell me.
And I know that. Believe me, I will tell you.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, actually, I'm going to ask you a question. Like, what do you feel in the past year, like with me moving in, you've learned, and then I can answer?
You have really kind of taught me to give myself grace for making mistakes and being able to understand that, you know, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
But also, you know, and this is extremely vulnerable of me to say, but I'm not the only fucking person in the room. You know what I mean? And like, I think it is hard, as selfless as I am in my friendships and how much I love people and care about people, I do sometimes, unfortunately, kind of put myself first. And I'm, you know, for my own sanity, it's a great thing. Yeah. But at the end of the day, too, it's like, what comes out of my mouth will affect you just as much as it's affecting me. And I think that I've been able to kind of recognize both parties in the conversation more, and also just like in my day-to-day life, like what it's like to live with another person and kind of understanding the and the cats, but understanding, you know, just the reality of the fact that we both have our own careers, and we both have our own lives, and we both have our own things that we're dealing with. And I, you know, even though like I come home tired, I also know that me waking up and not being a morning person, and me being like,
I've told her,
having a hard time in the mornings, having a smile on my face, like that could affect your day too. And so like really kind of being, recognizing like that there are other, you know, just not only making it about yourself. It's something that I think comes in time, you know?
Totally.
But
also, you didn't have your own space for so long, and I had to learn. I mean, I live with two younger brothers, or I don't live with them anymore, but two younger twin brothers who, like, you know, would always constantly beat up on me. We have like a really like funny bantering relationship. So it's like I always had people around me. I have like a very unified family. It's like we do things together, you know. So I always kind of had to keep in mind other people's opinions and people's you know, like routines. So it's like I'm constantly like
I was
aware
very
of
opposite
things. And you were not. And you know, originally when I moved in, I took that in a negative way.
Yeah.
But and then after some time when we were living together, I always, and to answer my own question, I always learned from you to just like not say what you want in like a negative unfiltered way, but say what you mean. You know, like if you want something, go do it. Like whatever that person responds with, so be it.
Yeah.
And I had a really hard time with that. And you literally came to me and you were like, Sophia, I could tell you're upset. Like, tell me why you're upset. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Like,
I told you start speaking up, and I noticed you have. And sometimes, like,
I still pick and choose, but definitely.
But, you know, I do think at the end of the day, like, living together and having roommates in your 20s or 30s or however old you are, it's hard. It's hard moving out of the house. It's hard living with people. And I think mixing that with business and mixing that with friendship is
very complex.
Kind of the most complicated situation and the perfect storm. And I think we've been able to kind of prove that it can work with the proper communication and the proper skills, and really kind of understanding and being open to one another's lives and differences, and also
Yeah.
embracing each other's differences. And yeah, I'm very appreciative of you, even
Yeah.
though sometimes
Same
I
to
just look
you.
fucking tired in the morning and I'm kind of sometimes just in my own world. But I
do too. I was telling her today, I was like, instead of actually doing like a formal podcast, we should just mic ourselves up, and then you'll actually see how our relationship is. Because like I don't even use this tone of voice with you.
I don't either.
Stop crying right now. This is
No.
how we talk to each other.
My
actually,
no, my contacts are drying on my eyes, so
Oh.
I can't cry.
Oh, I thought she
But
was like, yeah, those aren't real tears. Sorry.
Do you see any
No, sorry. I thought you were saying that you're gonna start
perspiration in my
crying, and
eyes?
then
Oh,
yeah,
okay, no,
no.
the air is blowing into my contacts,
I'm
so
sorry.
they're drying on my eyes.
We could have totally switched spots. But I do like, just because I know you're offering like more commentary, but I am very grateful for our relationship, and despite some of our differences, which for me, being the perfectionist that I am, was difficult to navigate mentally, it has like helped me blossom and like honestly just be more of myself through the difference, and like showing up for people that are different and not kind of dismissing them, you know, because it's just so easy to do that. And I think our culture is just so like me, individual personality. It's like, no, we're all connected. We all have something to learn from each other. Like, this is why we were doing this podcast in the first place. Like,
Right.
just because you're going through 5 different events I will probably never go through in my life, you know, I can learn from that in some way, shape, or form.
There's ways to learn from everything.
Connectivity through difference, you know?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Thank you guys for listening. Obviously, this was a little silly, but mostly pretty serious. Hopefully you learned something, and if not, hopefully you enjoyed our extremely unrelatable relationship that has many different facets to it. Sophia is my roommate. Sophia is one of my best friends. Sophia was my first friend at USC. Sophia is my manager. Sophia also helps do the marketing and all of the
yes. So if it sucks, you know it's my fault.
it's
Just
all
kidding. I
Sophia's
hope it
fault. If
doesn't.
this video has no views, it's Sophia's fault.
If this has 300 views in only 6 weeks, I'm gonna be so sad.
You know what? And
But
guess
you know
If
what?
it does,
It doesn't
have
matter.
300 people that are listening.
300 fans.
Or it's just me watching the video over and over
Exactly.
again.